Welcome to the Be Their Dad Show. Becoming a father is one of the most rewarding yet challenging times life has to offer. One man has made it his mission to help fellow dads lead long, active lives with their kids. Here he is, your host, Miles Lundy.
Get busy living or get busy dying. This is the philosophy of my podcast guest today. His name is Andy Miller. He's a driven dad who has an incredible journey in battling obesity, overworking himself, and getting the scare of his life when he was diagnosed with MS. Take a listen as we go deep into his life and his proven strategy for success as a healthy dad. Andy, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep. So just want to start off. I know we've got quite a story to go through, and I'm really interested to kind of unwrap and unpack that journey that you've been through with your health and being a dad and busy, and just the struggles and successes that go along with that. One of the things I like to start with is asking just a nice icebreaker question. What's your favorite song from the 90s? Like growing up, what was like your song, would you say?
I mean,
if you had to pick one. I know it's hard. I know it's not an easy task.
I think now looking back, it maybe has a little more significance, but I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy. I mean,
oh, wow. Okay.
How can you not go wrong with that? I mean,
oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah, I had that album, that CD, and I bumped that thing in my car. A lot through high school. So that was, good song, good album. I'm surprised though. I thought you would have picked some kind of, more alt rock or rock song or something like that.
But who doesn't miss the 90s? I mean,
you can't go wrong, really. There's no wrong answer to that question.
There's not, but it's a great question.
And what's the memory that relates to for you? Like, what's the thing that triggers you in mind when you think about that song?
Just kind of all the stuff that was going on back then. I mean, that was what, 96, 97?
96, 97, yeah, I reckon. Yep.
So, I mean, all the things going on with, music and the world, sports. I mean, it just kind of brings back to everything that was going on back then.
It's good. I think it's funny now, thinking about like back in the day, well, even 10 years ago, you'd hear a song on the radio or something random and it's like, oh, that song, I've forgotten about it. But now, because everything is so available, it's like, I can just listen to any of these old songs anytime I want. It kind of like, I still have nostalgia, but it just loses a bit, I think. I feel like it's not quite the same because it's like a random song that comes on. You're like, yes, I haven't listened to this song forever. Whereas now it's like any song I can possibly think of, I can just play at any moment I want to.
I think to your point, XM satellite radio here in the States has really kind of desensitized us to that, because I drive every day, 5-6 hours a day, and I'll find a new station and I'll listen to it. I haven't heard this song forever. This is a great song. You crank it up. And then, within 12 hours, that song's on the radio again. You're like, oh, okay, it's a little over.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's jump into things. I'm fascinated with your story and your journey through becoming, father, how you progressed through your career, big moments in your life. I know we want to get into and like to talk about you've been being diagnosed with MS and what that journey has been like. But I guess just start off with, because this is, by dads, for dads kind of thing. So just start off with what your journey into fatherhood was like. Was it a smooth transition for you, or, was it all planned and structured out for you, or is it just kind of happened, and what was that like for you?
I mean, it was scheduled, I guess. My wife and I are very type A people. So we waited till we were a little bit later in life. We wanted to have established careers.
Yep.
And be selfish, and then work on a family. We wanted to have money. We wanted to have a house. We set certain goals, or I guess milestones, that we wanted to have accomplished by the time we get to the point of having children. Well, we felt comfortable in our late 20s to start trying. And then we ran into some complications health-wise for her and I. Mm-hmm. So there was, kind of a minor setback there, and we worked through all those. And, the day I was telling my supervisor that I was going to be a father, that we were kind of announcing it, he informed me that I was being promoted on that same day. So life really changed, right then, and it really kind of hit high gear on the career side and on the home life side at the same time. So looking back, I don't know if I would have wanted it any other way. I don't know if I would have wanted to have the children first and then the career. I think the way we did it has worked well for us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's amazing. Like on the same day, you're getting promoted as you're telling everyone. That's got to be a pretty pinnacle moment for you right there. And it's what you wanted. I presume it's what you wanted work-wise. Like you, yeah.
Yes, it was. It ranks right up there with one of the. For me personally, it's one of the top 5 days of my life. Was the day I got promoted into a position that I worked very, very hard for. It was also the day I was, sharing the news that we were expecting. So.
Yeah. And that's a big one, I think. It's funny because the first time for us when we announced it at my 30th birthday party, which we had quite a few people around. I had, because I'm in Australia, obviously, I had both my parents over from the States. So, it was a lot of people, it was nice to have my family here and as well as a lot of other people. And we announced on that same day, and it's that my birthday party was on. It's like, I just never forget those kind of moments when, everyone's like, woo, excited for you because we announced it. I did the whole speech thing and I said, oh, and by the way, Jade's, my wife's pregnant. And it's great moment. It's funny though, the second time around, we didn't do it. It was like, hey, oh yeah, Jade's pregnant, by the way. So I think it's funny. The first one is such a big deal. The second one, nothing, it's not taking anything away from it, but I guess it's just a different feeling.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the unknowing of the first one, really.
That's right. Yeah, you're entering into the world of the unknown. So what was it like once actually having, your firstborn, and then obviously I presume was it a kind of a higher stakes job, more hours, that kind of thing, or was it just more of the same but just higher level work kind of thing?
I had kind of assumed the role on a different level at where I was at, just because of my supervisor, the person position I was going after, really wasn't doing the job, so I would fill in the gaps, and did that for about a year, and then got promoted into this other position, which was with a different part of what our company was. And I was traveling at the time, but I was just traveling throughout the Midwest, and this promotion had me traveling throughout Texas and Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Louisiana. So I had taken on a much larger territory, which required me to be gone. And the day after, 2 days after our first daughter was born, I was in Dallas, Texas, being introduced to my second group based on this promotion. So I'd been not necessarily promoted again, but I had done such a good job in 9 months that I was given another territory to add to my list. So even more travel after that.
Yeah. I mean, that's great from a career point of view. How did that go over, with you personally, like, wanting, obviously 2 days after having your child and having to be away and that kind of thing? How is that for you? Because some people handle that really well. I mean, I prefer I like being at home as much as I can generally, but everyone's different, and I don't think there's any one right answer. But how was it for you?
It was easy at first, especially while my wife was home nursing. She was off for 12 weeks, so it was kind of mommy-daughter bonding time.
Yeah.
And I didn't really fit into that mix. I would support. I would be home and do what I could for my wife, or take the baby for a little bit so she could get some rest, or go see some friends, do whatever. And I really enjoyed that because it made those moments, those hours that I got to spend at home with them, much more important to me. Much better, less stressful, less, more mundane. It was an event for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can see that.
But as time wore on, as she starts walking and she starts talking, then you're missing all of these milestone events in her life, and that wears on you once they start calling you daddy. That can wear on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, did you end up missing much of that then, or were you just kind of hit and miss if you were there for some of it and not for others? And did it always, because sometimes when you're in a new role like that, you're trying to prove yourself, you got to kind of learn the new, whatever the thing is, and you got to kind of gear up, and then you can kind of maybe not step backwards, but you can calm down a little bit more, and maybe be home more. I mean, or was it just constant, like that was your life and it just kept going, didn't stop?
Well, I started out just like that, trying to prove myself and prove my worth and show that I deserved the position, because there were a lot of people that didn't think I did.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
some, challenge to me to prove myself. So worked harder than everybody, worked smarter than everybody, worked more than anybody, and it created success. I mean, it showed in our sales numbers. Things were going well. Respect was being gained by people that weren't going to respect anyone in my position, and that fueled my fire to be even more active and work harder, work more. I mean, it started to fuel this machine that really created it. I mean, what I did for the organization was I took something that this little group that I had taken over. I had 8 employees, and they were scattered out throughout a territory, and really going in of 8 people going 10 different directions. So I trimmed the team down to a couple core people that I could work with, and rebuilt around them over the course of about a year. And
that would take some work.
It did. It took a lot of reflecting, on yourself. How are you managing these people? How are you leading these people? Can they be led? And ultimately made the changes. And I took a group that was doing, our group was, when I took over in 2009, was doing about $62 million in revenue, which was moderately sized in the organization. And when I left in 2014, they were doing $112 million. So
that's quite incredible. Yep.
We grew quite a bit. We became the single largest group in the entire organization. After being, on the bottom half of the ledger, we were the single largest group in the company. And that doesn't just happen. That's a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of luck along the way. But my experience is you kind of create your own luck too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's pretty impressive. Okay. And what do you find is the balancing act? Like, how do you find balance with your life and with professional life? Obviously, it's very important to you. That with, mixing in everything else, that you have in your life, kids, any time for yourself, what you do. I know you've got some things like golf that you love doing and those kinds of things. So how did you kind of find, the balance for yourself that worked and felt okay, felt right?
I'll be honest with you. I really hadn't found a balance that worked for me. It was kind of being a little Dutch boy, putting your fingers in the holes in the dike, trying to stop the water, trying to be in many places at the same time, never really giving yourself to any one event or one aspect, whether it was professional or personal or me, myself, or my children. I really hadn't found a balance. And by doing that, it created more stress on my person, my body, what I was doing to those around me, whether it was through work or whether it was my family. And so you get the pressure of not having balance. So you work harder to find the balance, which creates imbalance. So
yes.
It was a vicious cycle, and it was almost a downward spiral. And, it wasn't until you kind of hit rock bottom where you're able to say, okay, I've got to reset. I've got to reset my priorities, reset my focus, reset myself. And once I was able to do that, I was able to compartmentalize a little bit better and put myself more active in the moments that were happening in each aspect of what I needed to do.
Yeah. So I'd like to get to that rock bottom moment, because that's always the juice. That's really interesting stuff, I think. But before I do that, just going through, what do you see as kind of you're saying compartmentalize, what do you see are the areas of your life that you're giving at that time? What were you giving, your percentage of your time to? Just, what were the kind of main areas of your life that at the time, as you were building up stress and it was getting kind of worse, what at the time were you giving, your energy to, as far as, I don't know if you want to do percentages or just say, look, roughly it was 80% of this, or, whatever. What did that look like?
I would say 75% was to work.
Yeah.
I had bought, when I left the large corporation I was with, I left to spend more time with my family, to be home, my wife was pregnant with our second kid. I didn't want to be on the road again for her. Not my child, my wife. I didn't want to leave her hanging, be a single mom, 3 weeks out of the month, every month, and then go play golf and do my personal things when I was home. So, I would say after I did that, I bought into a company, and that took over. So it was about 75% of everything I was doing was trying to figure out the problems with this company, resurrect this company, make it what I wanted it to be. And then, 20% of the time was focusing on my immediate family. 4% of the time was focusing on my parents and my relatives and things like that. And I would say less than 1% was focusing on myself.
Yeah.
And that's where the stress really started to mount, but you can't see it because you're so close to it and you think there's a better way out.
Yeah. I can hear I think it's my 3-year-old knocking on the door. Let me in.
No problem.
I'll just see if you, Knox, is that you? There we go. I think he's off again. With kids, you never know, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I think that for me is really the interesting part, is that 1% that you say, you're spending on yourself. Were you spending much time with, friends and kind of social network stuff? Not necessarily just family, but, outside of just family?
The circle of friends had become work related.
Yes.
My work or my wife's work, it was all work related. And that was our social group, and alcohol was the main focus of our social group.
Yeah.
And so, alcohol helps cope, I guess, for some people with stress. And I certainly used it as a coping mechanism, and I used it a lot. And it in itself added more stress, because then you're losing, a day, the next day for recovery, not a good kind of recovery. So, I mean, it became more of a burden to be in that social environment, because it was all work based. Yeah, whether it was my work or her work.
Yep. It's obviously your wife's work as well. She's a professional as well, in her own right. Yep. Yeah. So I can see the challenges that come up with that. Yeah. Okay. So let's get into the rock bottom moment. I really want to, as much as you're willing to kind of share on that side, I'm interested to hear kind of, leading up to it, what was it feeling like? And then what was that moment that you felt like, I can't do this anymore. Like something's got to give.
Well, like most people, I'll sit there and make a New Year's resolution. Oh, January 1st, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I mean, rewind a little bit. We bought an elliptical machine in 2005, and my wife used it pretty religiously. I looked at it. It was a furniture or to hang clothes on for me.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It didn't really have a purpose in my life, and I made this deal with myself. Oh, January 1st, man, I'm going to get after it, and I'm going to be this, and all this bravado going into it. And then, December 31st comes and you get blackout drunk because it's New Year's Eve, and you wake up and you're like, I'll do it on Monday. And it became the next thing and the next thing. And, it got to be the point where I was making excuses to myself for putting it off again and again and again. And, I was talking to somebody about calories, intaking calories, how many calories that, the average American intakes. And I didn't buy it. I mean, I wasn't believing it. So I started tracking in a week how many calories I was ingesting. And I'm not joking in any way, shape,
okay.
or
form. I'm okay. You're building it up here. I'm interested to hear this number.
I was ingesting about 3,000 calories before 9 o'clock every morning.
Before 9 o'clock every morning?
Every morning. Because I would stop at a local gas station. I don't know if you remember Casey's.
Yes,
I'd have
of course.
2 pieces of Casey's breakfast pizza, which are about 450 calories a piece. I would have a giant Mountain Dew, not the 2-liter bottle, but a liter bottle, which is 600 calories in it. And I would have 2 Nutty Bars, the Little Debbie Nutty Bars, which are additional 700 calories a piece. Jesus. So I'm like, oh my God, and then I'd have lunch. Then I'd go out to lunch and I'd eat a cheeseburger and French fries and Coke and, ketchup and ranch. And then I'd go home and I'd eat dinner.
Yeah.
You're sitting there going, well, no wonder I feel awful. It didn't take me a week to realize that my lifestyle had created this monster from being on the road for so many years. You eat on the go. Yeah. Everything's go. And in America, I mean, you walk into a gas station and they're not handing you fresh fruit. You know, there's candy bars, there's sodas, you know, there's, you know, flavored waters and stuff like that if you want to be healthy. But it was a product of the lifestyle that I was living, and I had to change it because just counting that, I mean, it just made my fat hurt just thinking about testing. And so I hadn't stepped on a scale in years, actually, probably since I had seen my MS doctor last, and I think that'd have been 10 years probably at that point. And
So what year are we at the moment now? What year are we
this
talking?
would have been 2015.
Okay. Yep. So
About 3 years ago.
about 3 years. Yep.
I stepped on a scale. I weighed 268 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we went to high school together. I think when we graduated, I weighed maybe $185, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so, but then looking back at all these pictures as you're going through that, you realize I was well over 240 pretty much all of my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't, that's not who I saw when I looked in the mirror, was someone that weighed almost 270 pounds. That's just not what I wanted to see in the mirror. And I made a commitment that February 1st, I'm making a change. I made myself get out of bed, weigh myself, write it down, and I wrote down a goal. I wanted to lose as much weight as I could by August 1st.
Okay.
And
Yep.
August is a special date for me. That was when I was diagnosed with MS, was August 1st, 2002. So I had this goal. I wanted to get down to what I weighed when I was diagnosed, which was roughly 200 pounds. And, you know, so you read all this stuff about diets, you read all this stuff about, you know, exercise and all this. And I thought I could do it without it. I thought I could do it without a plan, without a regiment, without any discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And I did well, you know, just cutting out sugar and pop and cutting down a little bit of sodium and drinking more water. I had pretty immediate results. I mean, when you have that much weight on, just stopping drinking pop will shed some pounds. So when I got a little closer to the August 1st date, I started realizing that I needed a little help and that I wasn't getting where it kind of plateaued. So I tried a couple different avenues. One was Yoli, which is an all-natural diet supplement plan with little energy packs and protein shakes and meal replacement stuff, and monitor how many calories you eat, lean proteins, that sort of stuff. And it helped kind of jumpstart the metabolism a little bit. But really, my MyFitnessPal app really helped me kind of change what I was ingesting and how it was affecting my body and what my goals were going to be. And I hit my goal. I mean, August 1st, I was at 197.
Wow.
But there was this learning process throughout those 5 months that allowed me to get to that point. I mean, I had plateaued in April, plateaued again in June, and that's when these different aspects. So the Yoli was in April, the MyFitnessPal got introduced in June, and it allowed me to get there. My problem with that was, I had felt great. It was a crash diet, right? I mean, everything was crash. I hit my goal. Yay, I win, finish line.
Yeah, that's it. It's done, right? It's over after that. You don't have to do anything. You can go back to living life.
Right, and I did. So, that was round one, and I thought
Before you move on, I'm curious actually to hear. If it's just rewind a little bit, it's a fascinating story. The part when you were saying it's not who you saw in the mirror, I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on that. So you were saying when you were looking at pictures and then when you saw yourself in the mirror, it's not who you saw. You kind of didn't see that. Well, who did you see? Like what is it you saw in the reflection, and how was that not the reality of what the situation?
Well, what I thought I looked like, what I felt I looked like, no matter what size my waist was, no matter what size shirt I was wearing, I felt like I was this less than 200 pound, in shape person. Not muscular by any stretch of the imagination, but not obese. Textbook definition at the time, I was obese.
Yeah.
And I didn't see, when I thought about myself, looking at myself in the mirror, that's not what I saw. I saw what I wanted to see. And it was at that moment that I realized, oh my God, my jowls, I had 4 chins. I mean, this was just huge. And there was no hiding it. There was no running away from it at that point. There was no delusional self-reflection that you were this 200-pound in shape individual anymore. Reality had set in.
And so this at the same time, like when you did the calorie thing, it was the same at that same kind of moment or same week or whatever that you were like, oh, I'm taking a lot of calories and oh shit, I'm actually looking at myself? Or was it a kind of a separate moment?
It was, so I kind of challenged myself for a week to count my calories, to monitor my calories.
Yep.
It was about 3 days into that calorie count that I realized that, and I wasn't going crazy like, oh, I'm going to see how many calories I can take in today.
Yeah,
it was just this was my routine every day. And it was 3 days into that I realized, what are you doing? That was where the correlation set in that, I mean, you are a glutton. You're kind of a monster at that point for anything sweet, chocolates, carbohydrates, whatever it was. If you put it in front of me, I was going to consume it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks for going into that. I was just curious to see how that visualization kind of process happens, because I think it's such an interesting point that when you have those moments and you're just kind of going about life, and especially you're busy with your work, obviously family life, it's just all that takes over, and you just kind of, you can have that mental image of yourself and not be truthful about what that is, and you can think, well, I'm okay, I'm doing all right. Like this, I got no problems. And then you have that moment of like smack yourself in the face and go, oh shit, this is not okay.
Yeah. It was, I mean, the term reality check really applies to it.
Yep. Okay. So back to, so you had your stage 1 or your, round 1. What happened after that August 1st date then?
So football season in Iowa City is a very special time of year where
magical.
a lot of good things happen, especially that year. The Hawkeyes go 12-0, so a lot of celebrating was taking place. So we tailgate, we go to every home game. So you're drinking beforehand, you're eating unhealthy all day long, you're grazing, you're not sitting down to eat a planned meal, and you're drinking at the game and after the game and all through the night. So then again, your recovery is, well, I need grease, I need calories, I need chocolate, I need this, I need that. So you get back into that routine of extremely unhealthy eating, no working out, making excuses why you don't want to work out because you're hungover, you don't feel good. And as we get older, the hangovers last more than a day sometimes. So you're missing a couple days. And then it just kind of fell into this routine where I'll get back to it sometime. And by Christmas time, I had ballooned back up to about 210, 215, which wasn't terrible. No. I felt good.
Yeah.
And lost a little more weight after the first of the year. The New Year's resolution thing kicked in again, and but it didn't last. I mean, it didn't stay, and I got off track, and work got busy, and the kids started getting into activities, and I kind of fell back into that rut of everything for work, trying to find the balance, and that's just a place I don't ever want to be at again. For myself or for my family or for my employer, I can't be that way anymore. And that's when it hit me again that this isn't a finish line. You and I've talked about it. There's no goal. There's no journey that ends with you capture the flag and hurrah, everything's over. It's constant. It's a lifestyle. It's the way you are from that point on that defines how it goes.
Yeah, so it's so true. And it's actually, the funny thing is, after, I don't know, we were messaging back and forth or whatever when we were doing that, at the same time I was talking to another client, someone I was helping out, and she was talking about a very similar journey that she had gone through, and was going to the gym 5, 6, 7 times a week, and she's mom and didn't want to be away from her kids, but felt like this impetus to just smash it and get to this certain weight, that image of herself of what she wanted to get to so she could look good in pictures and all these kinds of things. And so she achieved that. And then the moment she achieved that, she didn't set another goal, which is like mistake numero uno after you finish something like that. I mean, it's okay to have a push and, that kind of thing, but you got to have the next thing. Otherwise it's like, yeah, I've done it. I'm finished. And that's exactly what happened to her. Same deal as, just fell back into old ways. Cause like, you've achieved the goal, you haven't set another one. So therefore, guess what? You're just, if you're not goal striving, you're not focusing on something, you'll just revert back to the easy way of doing things.
And I mean, I learned that lesson firsthand, a very hard lesson for me, blow to the ego, because I had created this image of myself that I wanted to portray, and I didn't have it anymore. And I struggled to find, a purpose, to find a goal again. So.
Okay. And I'd like to move into the MS journey. I'd like to talk a bit about that, because that's obviously been a significant part of your life. Can you just take me through the leading up to diagnosis? Like what was, what was changing about you, or was it something you had identified, or that kind of a thing? And then what kind of led on after that?
It was August or late July of 2002, and I had helped my friend's sister move. The end of July in a college town is big time move in, move out day. So we were helping her move, and we went to a bar afterwards, and it was a very easy move. I mean, a couple couches. It wasn't anything stressful. It wasn't anything hard, heavy lifting. We go to a bar afterwards, and we're listening to a band, and we're standing there talking, and my friend, who's been my best friend since we were in 7th grade, looks at me and he goes, "Are you okay?" And yeah, he goes, "Well, you just dropped your beer." I look down at my hand, and my hand is in the perfect shape to hold a beer bottle, but my beer is on the floor in pieces.
Okay.
I didn't feel it. I didn't notice it. I didn't hear it. It just didn't register. Well, that's strange. So the night goes on, have a few more beers. I had to work the next day, so I didn't stay out too terribly late. Get home, and I'm trying to turn on the TV with the remote, and I can't use the thumb. My thumb's just not working to turn on the power, so I have to use a different hand, and I maybe just pinched a nerve. So the next day I go to the doctor, my family doctor. Yeah, probably just pinched a nerve. Here's some anti-inflammatory drugs. The next day I lost the use of my index finger. The next day, the day after, I lost use of my middle finger. The next day after that, I lost the use of my ring finger.
Jesus.
I lost the use of my pinky, and then my wrist. Every other day, I was going to see the doctor. Something's wrong. This isn't working. Something's wrong. It's like, oh, it'll take a day. Just give it another day. Just give it another day. And when I lost the use of my elbow and my wrist and my entire hand, my family doctor said, "This is beyond me. You need to go see a specialist." So I went down to Mercy Hospital in Iowa City. I had a battery of tests run by their neurology department there, and he had this little thing, and he's testing me on. He's going, "Is it cold here? Is it cold here? Is it warm here?" And when he did something, I said something. I don't even recall what it was, but I made a comment or a gesture, and he said, "Okay, that's enough. We need to get you into an MRI right now." I'm thinking to myself, oh, he obviously knows what he's doing. He's found something. Goes and, gets me scheduled the MRI, and take off all your clothes. You got to take off your belt because no metal can be in there. And so as I'm sitting there waiting to go in, I'm telling myself, your life is about to change. One way or another, your life is going to change. I was thinking that I had a tumor. I mean, at that point, the way everything had scrambled and reacted to get me into this position at the hospital, I thought it was, dire.
Yes.
And
yeah.
So I go into the MRI, and the doctor, after it's over, the doctor meets me at the door and says, "We need to go discuss your results right now." And I'm the whole time thinking, "Oh, I'm dying. I'm dying. Oh my God, I'm going to die. How am I going to tell my mother I'm dying?" And I get back to the room, and he puts a shot up on the screen of a normal, healthy human brain. And it's all these vibrant colors, greens and blues and yellows and pinks and reds. And he said, "This is a normal human brain." I'm like, great. Then he puts another one up there, and it's dull colors, and there's white spots all over the place. One's the size of a golf ball. All the rest of them are, size of pennies, $50, what have you. He said, most MS patients have to have a significant event like this for them to realize what they have. Most MS patients have 4 to 5 lesions or these white spots on their brain. You have 18.
Jesus.
And I'm going, okay, well, what does MS have to do with any of this? I don't have it. MS is for old women in wheelchairs. It's not for a 22-year-old kid who's strong as an ox and does whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it. And he informed me that, in fact, most people that are diagnosed with MS, it's done before they're age 25. And it's not gender specific. And as a matter of fact, he said it's actually more common in black males than it is in white females, which blew me away.
Yeah,
I did not know that. But there's no correlation. There's no heredity. There's no anything. So I said, so what's next? And he said, well, we need to get you in for some testing. I said, okay, well, I got to work tomorrow and the rest of the week. He goes, oh, no, you're not going home. I'm like, okay. So they admitted me to the hospital. I stayed in the hospital for about 10 days. They had me on the highest dosage of prednisone that the hospital would allow, which is a very powerful steroid. And if I didn't eat a full meal, about every 20 to 30 minutes, my stomach would start to eat itself. Like I could feel it just ripping itself apart. So the nursing staff would bring me, a whole chocolate cake. 30 minutes later, I'd have an omelet and hash browns. 30 minutes later, I'd have a large pizza.
Sounds amazing.
It was amazing. Waited on hand and foot, but you're not able to walk. You're not able to get up. You're not able to do anything. And, while I'm in the hospital, the whole left side of my body was just weak. It was gone. I had no grip. I had no strength, no pressure. And I was scared. I was scared to death because no one was telling me what this was going to be like for the rest of my life. Am I going to get my hand back? Am I going to get my elbow back? Am I going to be able to live a normal life? What changes do I have to incorporate to live? Am I going to be in a wheelchair? All these things were going through my head, and no one took the time to sit down and answer the questions that to me were obvious that I needed to have answered without even asking them. And it was a very emotional, stressful time for me. I was dating a girl. We were actually supposed to move in together that next week. And she was supposed to go somewhere for a bachelorette party. Well, she didn't leave. She stayed with me in the hospital every night. And, we just sit there and watch TV. We'd play cards. We'd play board games. We'd talk, all night long. She'd spent every night in the hospital with me. And I ended up marrying her. So that worked out.
That worked out okay. Yeah. She seems like a keeper.
Yeah. But it was one of those things that, she didn't sign up for that. We'd been dating for 3 months. She could have just left. She could have just walked away, which was, even scarier to me given everything else that was going on, that I had this possibility I'd be alone at the same time. So it was very difficult, very, very hard for me to get through that. And if it wasn't for, her and my immediate family and some really close friends, I don't know if I would have made it out of that mentally. It was depressing. You're aging at a rapid rate at that point, in my opinion, is what it did to me.
And so how long were you in the hospital for?
10 days.
Yeah. And they weren't really telling you much or going through anything. It was just kind of test after test and wait for the result and that kind of a thing.
Yep. And there was only one test I didn't have done, and that was a spinal tap. It was the only thing to tell for sure if I had MS, other than the MRIs and what they thought they saw. I refused to have that done because it just wasn't something that I didn't want to have done. And because I know if I would have had that test, it would have been real one way or another. And I guess part of me at that time still thought that maybe there was a chance that it was wrong.
Sure.
And I'll be honest with you, until about August of this past year rather, I still thought there was a chance that they were wrong. Because after that, I kind of changed my focus about my disease, about the MS. There's a movie, Shawshank Redemption, has a great line: "Get busy living or get busy dying."
Oh, I love that line. It's a great one.
Yeah, so do I. And I kind of, my girlfriend, now wife, and I at that time decided that's how we're going to live. we're going to live. We're not going to die. Everything's going to be about experiences and people and our surroundings and us and, conquering our dreams and getting over our fears and doing all these things. And man, if it wasn't for her, and like I said, all the friends around us, there's no way I would have made it out of that, because that positive influence, that positive outlook on everything made it to where today, all these years later, 16 years later almost, I'm the luckiest person that's ever been diagnosed with MS, because I have zero symptoms. Zero.
And what do you attribute that to?
I think a lot of it has to do with the positive attitude. I've never ever allowed it to consume me. I've never allowed it to take over, or, at the slightest tingle or numbness that I think, oh my God, here it is, it's going to take over. My life is over. I've always tried to overcome it mentally, and always carried that get busy living, get busy dying, I choose life kind of thing. And I really think that that's had a great deal of impact on how my MS has not progressed. That's not to say that I haven't had relapses. That's not to say that I haven't had issues. As a matter of fact, after the last time I saw you, I had a pretty severe issue. And I was in the hospital for 2 days.
Oh, okay.
Tests. I, again, thought that I had a tumor. I thought that was some early onset Alzheimer's or dementia was happening, because there were some scary moments and pieces that I could not put together, times where I didn't know where I was or what I was doing, conversations I'd had, and it got scary. But went through the battery of tests again, and they all came up inconclusive with anything other than the fact that you have MS.
And so what's been so can you just interlay that with that journey? Can you just interlay that with our previous discussion there, just about where you're at, health wise, just in general, being overweight and, stressed out at work? What, how did that kind of interlay into it? Excuse me, with the MS? Was it a significant factor in everything that you were thinking about? The weight side of things, were conditions, symptoms worse for you during that period of time, or can you just talk through, kind of interlay that into your story then as well?
Well, I don't know if conditions were worse, because when you're fat and out of shape, conditions are pretty bad. But yeah. I don't know if I ever associated anything to do with MS. I mean, that would have been a crutch. It would have been an excuse, and I'm just not wired that way. But I was taking medication called beta-serin for the first 2 years I was diagnosed with MS. It's an injection that you have to give yourself in a fatty, tissuey part of the body every other day. And the side effects of beta-serin for me were like having the worst hangover you've ever had. Extreme exhaustion. I call it brain fog, where you can't cognitively think your way through anything. Reading a book was hard. Reading a newspaper was next to impossible. You can't sit still. You got sweats. Everything hurts. And then for half a day, you'd feel great. Like all that was gone. So you could live your life. And then you had to give yourself another injection. And the next day it was all over again.
Vicious cycle on that. Yeah. Well, okay. So for 2 years you were doing that, did you say?
Yeah. And then I don't even know if it was 2 years, maybe a year.
Yeah.
And we were still getting the
felt like 2 years.
Yeah, we were still getting the prescription, because it was automatically shipped to our house, and it was these injections. It was a box full of syringes with medicine in them, and every night I'd get up and go grab one out of the refrigerator, and I'd go grab my little EpiPen, and I'd walk in the bathroom, and my wife would be watching TV, and I would close the bathroom door and lock it, and I would squirt it down the toilet or down the sink, and I would throw it in the Sharps jar, and yep, took my medicine.
Interesting.
And I did that for 2 years. Every other day for 2 years.
Wow, that's impressive. That's dedication.
Yeah. Well, my wife caught me because I skipped a couple days, and she noticed the box. There were now 2 boxes in the refrigerator full of syringes. Are you taking your medicine? No, we need to talk. I felt awful hiding it from her, but I didn't know how she would react to me not taking the medication. But once we had the conversation, she said, well, you've you've seemed a lot happier, seemed a lot healthier. You seem like you're not complaining as much about it since you stopped. So don't take it. And I haven't looked back.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's quite an amazing story. And so where you at the moment with all of it? You feeling good and that kind of a thing at the moment, or where are you at with your?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think with the MS, it's at mostly at bay. I mean, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, I know one day it's going to happen, but every day that it doesn't, it's a great day. So I try to live for that and try to take advantage of today not being that day.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Absolutely right. I mean, honestly, it doesn't get any simpler than that, and that's cliche, but it's the truth.
I think the most complicated quotes and all kind of things. You're never going to remember that. You're going to remember the simplest thing, and if it resonates, like it's one of those things. It just resonates with you. That's all you need. There is nothing else. It just means whatever it means for you, and you're not going to remember some complicated quote anyway. So it's
Right.
It's simplicity. Yeah. Right. Okay. So going through where you're at now with your kind of health journey, where are you at right now? So this year we're in March now. Do you do New Year's resolutions? Are you focusing on anything in particular right now? Where are you at with that?
Well, like I said, I learned the lesson the hard way of setting a goal and reaching the finish line can't really exist. So I worked mentally myself up to this point in December where I've got to figure out what my goals are. And I kind of came up with a little 3-part system for myself where I always have 3 goals. And when I hit a goal or a milestone, I cross it off. But if I cross it off, I got to add another one to it.
Nice.
So
I like it.
You're constantly adding to 3. Sometimes there's 4, but you're constantly pushing yourself to get to those goals. And that has worked tremendously for me since the first of the year. Started up again, working out, elliptical, going for runs in the morning, and just doing push-ups and sit-ups and things like that, and really watching what I'm eating, doing the calorie adjustments and intakes and all that stuff. And it's helped out tremendously. When I started January 1st this year, I weighed 218 pounds. And as of this morning, I weighed in at 187 pounds.
Jeez.
So it's really, really worked out well for me. I've got a Fitbit. So I got myself a Fitbit that tracks my steps and your heart rate and all that stuff. So that and my MyFitnessPal together, I kind of use those things. I get in a lot of trouble with my wife because at the dinner table I'm punching in what I'm eating to figure out, to see if I can have to push it off to the kids or if I can finish my meal.
Yeah.
Or what have you. But no, it's really worked for me. And we're going through some things here at the house with some remodeling.
Yes.
And we had to move the workout equipment to our garage. And every morning it's about 27 degrees here in the morning, Fahrenheit. So it's a little cold in the garage, but it motivates you to move a little bit faster when you're out there. So it's I mean, I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to it. It's not a challenge to get out of bed at 3:30 in the morning to go downstairs and work out for an hour and a half. I'm absolutely loving it.
That's fantastic. And it promotes fat loss as well. You got cold thermogenesis going on because it's like having the cold showers. It's the same kind of deal. You're getting rid of those excess fat stores. So maybe you should keep it in there. So can you just take me through perhaps like a day in the life? So you obviously get up ridiculously early. You're one of those freaks that do that. I've been a fitness professional for, 15 years. I've been doing, relatively healthy eating, exercise, all that stuff for probably 20 years. I cannot motivate myself consistently to get up earlier than say 5:30. Like I'm kind of like 5:45 is probably about my sweet spot that I feel like that's I can maintain that. So can you just take me through for you, like when you're getting up in the morning, take me through a bit of your routine, and then kind of what does your day look like?
Sure. So my alarm goes off, depending on what I have going on. If I've got to be in a meeting, hour, 2 hours away, I'm up at 3. If it's a normal day, I'm up at 4. and get up, go to the bathroom, get ready to go, get dressed for working out in cold environment. And I go downstairs, I get about 20 ounces of water, I drink it, and then I drink a little packet of this Yoli Passion energy drink that is supposed to replace caffeine, and is really good. I love them.
Wow.
But it's 10 calories and it just tastes delicious. A little vodka would even be better. It's a little early for that in the morning,
Yeah,
but
maybe.
so take that, and it goes with a cup of water, and then I go out and I got on the elliptical machine. I go, I do a 5K every morning, so 3.1 miles on our elliptical machine. I then use some kettlebells to do some light weightlifting. Every month I try to find a different 30-day challenge, whether it's an ab challenge or whether it's a squat challenge, or if it's a plank challenge, whatever. I try to get into these things so that I push myself each day to have something different to look forward to on those.
And where
As
do
soon
you
as I'm done,
find that program from? Like what
I
your
just
30-day challenges? Where do you get those?
Google.
Yeah.
When I'm not doing anything, I just Google them and I look and I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that. That sounds hard. And I'll save them to my favorites on my phone, on my pictures. So then I just pull them up, and that's the background of my phone, so I can see what I got to do that next day or that day.
Yeah. And do you have anyone consistently that you use for the 30-day challenges? Anyone that you follow, or, any shout outs you want to give for that?
Not really. I mean, I just keep cycling through. I mean, the first one that got me started on this was this Batman challenge.
Okay.
It's pretty good. I'll send it to you. It's
Yeah.
it's all right. It's all right, well, especially when you're first starting out and you don't really have any strength built up or endurance to do those sort of things. It's a pretty good starter.
Okay.
But my addictive personality leads into much more. So once I get all those done, I get back on the elliptical machine, and I'll go for another 20 minutes. And then right now I started watching a television show while I work out, which is not really what I want to do, but it's a good television show, so I kind of get captured.
What is it? What are you watching?
The Man in the High Castle. It's
Okay, I haven't heard of it. Oh, right.
Fantastic.
I'll have to check it out.
It's an hour long, so I'll go for my 5Ks. 3.1 miles takes me about 31 minutes, 32 minutes. So I've got half an episode left to watch. So after I do my little workouts, I get back on the elliptical machine, I finish the show, and however short I am of 10,000 steps for the day, I'll turn off the iPad, I'll turn on some music, and I'll go as fast as I can to get to the 10,000 steps. But by 6 a.m. every day, I've got my 10,000 steps in, or I can't start my day. It's like this mental thing I have now. So as soon as that's done, I'll get another glass of water, 20 to 30 ounces. I'll drink that. I will give myself a cup of black coffee every day, because if I didn't have that, I'd probably be in prison for. So then I get the girls ready, and that's really when the day begins, and it's really something that you had said on the Facebook page. Before you can be selfless, you have to be selfish. So what I said earlier about compartmentalizing, I've broken my day down into compartments now. And this is what's really working for me to find that balance. This is how I've achieved the balance that I have. And I'm very, very happy with my balance. My stress is virtually eliminated.
Amazing.
So my morning from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. is my time. That's me. That's when I get to do what I enjoy, and pushing myself and really, finding myself in that time. And then from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. is all about the girls. It's about my children, my 8-year-old and 4-year-old. I get them up, get them ready, get them dressed, get them some breakfast, and I take them to school. And I walk them into school every single day, and that's my time with them every morning.
That's great. You got it. That's got to be some amazing time right there to have that consistently every day. That you've got that kind of locked in.
Yeah, and that eases me into now I've got to go into work, and now I'm on the phone immediately after I drop off the girls, to deal with the problems of the day or the problems from yesterday. And we start the day, and then at 5 o'clock, I shut it down. No more work. So I've given my portion of my day or myself to my work. Everything I got, they've got it. And then I go pick up the girls. We come home, make dinner, we play, we hang out. My wife travels for work, so she's gone a lot. And so it's just the girls and I really value that time with them. So we play board games, we'll watch a TV show, we'll read books, we'll just hang out, we'll talk about sports. I'll show them old videos of, Bo Jackson or
yes, Bo Jackson.
Where's old that guy TV. At? Oh, he's my favorite. But I show them old TV shows, and they love it, So like right now, they're out in the other room on their tablets watching Reading Rainbow.
Oh, Reading Rainbow. Jeez. Yes.
So they love that stuff, and that's our time to do that kind of thing. And then they go to bed about 8 o'clock, and that's what time I fall asleep as well.
I was going to say, after getting up at 3:30, you must be having to get to bed pretty early. And I can see, how you chunking your time in your days just to make sure it's scheduled so you can feel good about, well, I've got this time for myself and I can do what I want rather than just go, balls to the wall, work, that kind of time. It's obviously working for you. So it's great to hear.
Well, before I found this balance and before I started, working on the selfless before selfish, before selfless, my family and friends and everything became a distraction from work. Work was the overriding force in my life, and it consumed everything. And I was an asshole. I was not pleasant to be around. I'd snap at the kids. I'd yell. I was just not nice. It's not me. That's not what I want to be. That's not how I want my children to look back at their dad when they were younger. Is that, well, we couldn't bother dad because he was always angry because he was always trying to work. I don't want my kids to think that that's what life is about. I want them to think that anything is possible and that they have everything to gain and nothing to lose with everything. And I can't provide that for them when I'm not physically and mentally present with them.
Yeah, that's massive.
But compartmentalizing my day, some people might look at that as the problem, but it's the only way I can make it through. I have to do that. But I'll tell you, at 5 o'clock, it's off. The phone, no more answering the phone, no more emails, no more text messages. I'll get on the phone to register my food and all that stuff. Look at Facebook, whatever, play videos with the girls, but there is no work going on.
Yeah.
I just can't let it happen.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you've obviously, like you said, been able to compartmentalize it and just kind of cut it off and say, that's it, because the tendency, especially because we're so connected these days, is that, you can just, an email come through. Maybe I'll just check to see what that's about. And then it just leads into this whole thing. And then if you have your kids with you as well, it's like they become just, like you said, they just get in your way of doing more work. And then suddenly it's, it's a downward spiral of when's work, when's me time, when's family time, and it just never, none of them really fully ever exist, because you're never, just saying, prioritize right now. I don't care what else happens. This is my time for this. And then this is my time for this. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thanks for taking me through that. Just to finish off, a couple of questions. Do you follow anyone? Could be anything weird and wonderful. Like, what are you into right now? Like, it could be about anything. Just curious to see, is there, a new band coming out that you like, new group or songs, or is there, obviously the TV show? That's probably the big one at the moment.
That's the big one at the moment. I got one more episode in this season, and then I don't know what I'm going to do after that, because
what do I do with my life?
I don't know what I'm going to watch when I work out anymore, but that's the biggest stress in my life right now. But no, really what I'm into, honestly, and believe it or not, is my oldest daughter is on a traveling softball team. She's 8 years old. I'm into that. I'm into those kids. I'm into watching them. I'm into helping them develop. That is awesome. They had their first tournament this last weekend, and man, it was fantastic. I was kind of nervous because of the commitment, financial and time commitment that it was going to take. I was way off. This is fantastic.
So a traveling softball team at 8 years old.
Yeah.
That's impressive. You must be loving it.
I don't know if she loves it. Dad loves it. So
Yeah, well, that's the important part. Who cares if they like it? They'll learn to like it.
that's great. That's right. But no, it's been a big thing because she's learning about baseball and all these things that I guess I thought I learned from coming out of the womb about baseball. You know, like strikes and you're out kind of thing. I've had to teach her all of those things, and it's man, it's a lot of fun.
You're telling me it's not innate? People just aren't born with that?
I thought we were. I mean,
Sure.
I thought it was in our DNA, but apparently not.
And lastly, anything that you want to talk about or promote or anything like that?
Honestly, I mean, I talk with several of my friends that are in similar positions to myself as far as, you know, being a dad, having a high stress job, and trying to find the balance. Um, I really take a lot of what I read off of your Facebook group to them, and I encourage them to check it out, to look at it, to read it, because it's really helped me get where I need to go from a mental standpoint. And it's, you know, the group it's a support group. I mean, everybody really kind of lifts each other up and helps each other out, and challenges each other, and, you know, kind of stays with each other, I think, a little bit. So that's been fantastic for me. That's really helped get me through this year. You know, the first, whatever, 70 days of the year, almost 90 now, I guess. But it's, you know, that's really been a very positive influence for me. So thank you very much. That's not just platitude. That's me actually being very thankful for what you've done for me. And I really hope that other people are getting what I get out of it, because it's irreplaceable in my life right now. I don't know what I would do without that sort of drive or that sort of support network. Certainly has changed how I've gone about it. It's helped bring the balance.
Fantastic. Well, obviously I didn't pay to say that, but I appreciate you giving me a shameless plug for that. Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that I think people find what they want to find when they're ready to find. It's that when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. You know, everyone finds the right thing that works for them at the right time, and, you know, that works. So it's always good. You can share this kind of stuff with, you know, your coworkers or anyone else, but they got to be ready to hear it, don't they? Like, you know.
Yeah.
Imagine
Well,
someone sharing that group with you in whatever 2014 or something. It's like,
yeah.
what? No, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, you know, well, we've talked about it. I mean, I don't mean to monopolize all your time, but you know, we have I have a family member who is very unhealthy, lives a very unhealthy lifestyle. He's married. He's almost 50. Works third shift, so his, you know, sleep patterns are off. They've been off for 20 years. He's just not, you know, doesn't get to socialize with people during normal hours, and his kids are getting older. He hasn't missed any part of them, but he's really missing himself. Like, he has let himself fall into this gap where he's never really present wherever he is, and I see it. And he's had some health scares, and I just wish that I could break through to him to get him to realize where he's at, because he's dying and he just doesn't see it, you know. And that's the unfortunate part. And I think all of us have somebody in our lives, or know of someone that's going through a similar situation, or, you know, is doing that to themselves and could benefit from it. But that's the only thing I wish is that that my talking about it, or my educating people about what it is that you're doing, or what it is that I've done, or how I've gotten to there, would resonate with them. And like you said, when they're ready to be the student, they find the teacher. And I really think that that's pretty apparent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the best thing you can do, the best thing I've found over the years is you just lead by example, do your thing, make yourself happy, and other people will see that. And then if they are ready and they go, well, shit, Andy's, you know, he's figured it out. I wonder what he's doing. He obviously is very happy and has found, you know, has dropped weight and feels better and all those kinds of great things. And then, you know, they might go, hey, what are you doing? What's the, you know, I'm kind of not feeling great. What do I do here? What do you suggest? Those kind of things. So I think the best thing you can do, and all of us really, is just, you know, shine your own light, you know, do the best that you can do. And people will resonate with that. The right people resonate with that at the right time. And that's all you can really do. Cause I think it's challenging, because you always want to, when you see someone like that, especially if you have a health focus, it's like, oh, I can just see them and they're struggling and they just don't see it. And as much as you want that for them, if they don't want it, the reality is, nothing's going to change. As much as, you can be beating your head against the wall trying to explain, trying to tell them what needs to change, but they've got to see it. So, okay, well, thanks very much. I appreciate your time. Keep kicking ass, keep getting up at 3 a.m. and good luck finding another show to watch after this last episode.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
That's this week's episode of the Be Their Dad Show. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.